So it has been a while since we spoke about Logan Paul on this channel, but it turns out we actually have an update with the whole Crypto Zoo situation. So if you aren't aware of what Crypto Zoo is, which I find quite hard to believe at this point because it was kind of one of the biggest situations on the internet at the time, but I will give you a very quick rundown and just a little spoiler, it's gonna sound a bit bizarre, and that's because it is. Because Logan Paul woke up one day and actually believed that he was going to create the next Pokemon. That's his words, not mine, alright? You know Pokemon, probably like the biggest franchise to ever exist? Yeah, he thought he was gonna create the new version of that, and the way he was going to do that was through NFTs, which I've got to say, it's a massive shock that didn't work out. But basically, he created this game where people could buy NFTs, and then they could, like, mix two NFTs together, which were, like, animals, and they would turn into a different animal. Which, yeah, like I said, sounds a bit bizarre, because it is. And basically, he launched this game, and because he's Logan Paul, a bunch of people bought into it because they see Logan Paul as this multi-millionaire, very successful, knows what he's talking about, so surely, if we invest in his project, it's gonna do well. Well, turns out it didn't do well, and it actually just didn't work as a game for the longest time, and people started to lose money. Now, when people started to lose money, Logan Paul, instead of, you know, working on the game, making it better, making sure people will make money from this project that they've spent a lot of money on, he instead just decided to ghost them. He wouldn't reply to messages, he gave no updates on the game, and in fact started creating other NFT projects. He created Liquid Marketplace, 99 Originals, maybe some more that I'm not 100% aware of, but it became very clear that he just gave up on his project. It'd been over a year, he had no update on the project, and in fact there was videos going around when he was meeting up with like celebrities before his podcast and talking about his new NFT projects, but when these celebrities would bring up his old one, he kind of just scooted past it and went, oh yeah, it's not that one, we've got a new one, that's definitely gonna work. And this is where Coffeezilla comes into the mix, who kind of specializes in crypto scams. That's what his content's primarily about, and he created a 3-part series talk about the scam and debunking a lot of stuff, and then he also created a 4th video responding to Logan Paul's response. And as we can see by the views here, I mean, the first video has 8.7 million views, then it got pretty much 5 million, then 7.1, then a response got 4 million. A lot of people saw this, and there was so much research that Coffeezilla put into the situation. Logan Paul really couldn't get out of it looking good unless he did just own up to it and pay people back the money that he scammed. But instead, Logan Paul decided to make a few videos going back at Coffeezilla, basically calling him a liar. He did like a main response on his like Logan Paul channel. He also did a podcast where he went into a lot more details, trying to make it seem as if Coffeezilla's wrong. And then he ended up trying to sue Coffeezilla, which he then ended up dropping because of all the backlash he was getting. And then after that, and yes, it is a very long situation, unfortunately, it still isn't over, Logan Paul owned up and said he was sorry, kind of. He said that he thanks Coffeezilla for bringing it up because now he can solve it. And he even brought up this plan where he said he was going to refund up to $1.8 million, which still wouldn't make up for all the people that he scammed and all the money that he put in. But I mean, 1.8 million is still 1.8 million. It's a lot of money that he could refund. But here we are 6 months later, and it turns out that response and that apology from Logan Paul seems to be a load of shite. Because we now have a new video by Coffeezilla. It's called Logan Paul's Scam Isn't Over, and I mean, that sums it up perfectly. He is still scamming people, it seems. Now, before we get into all the new details, if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. I haven't said that for a little while because, you know, I was begging all the way to 400k, but you've had like a couple of weeks off, so we're back to begging. But yeah, like I said, it's been 6 months since this situation like really blew up, and since then, Logan Paul hasn't paid anyone, and in fact he kind of just went back to his old ways. And a good example of that is this video I saw from someone called Henry Resilient. And in Henry's video, he goes through a lawsuit between Logan Paul and someone that he scammed, someone he owes $5,000 to. And instead of paying the $5,000, which, let's be honest here, not a lot of money to Logan Paul, right? He instead tries to file a motion to dismiss to try and get rid of the lawsuit entirely.
So now what they did, they submitted a blank one saying it is therefore ordered that the individual motion is granted and the plaintiffs and plaintiff Don Holland individually on behalf of all others similarly situated and is hereby be dismissed. So they're asking for a dismissal, guys. The guy with $45 million, all the money in the world, easily could pay Don Holland his $5,000, and he's asking for a dismissal.
You know, the fact it's $5,000 actually blows my mind, because if we're being honest here, Logan Paul paying $5,000 for something is like any of us, like, I don't know, paying 50 pence for something. It really isn't a lot of money to him. In fact, he wouldn't even notice. But instead of paying that, he's trying to get rid of the lawsuits entirely, and that to me just shows that he doesn't want to be paying people, but obviously that is just my opinion. But yeah, since this has all been going on behind the scenes throughout the past few months, it seems like Coffeezilla's got very impatient. In fact, he's actually been reaching out to Logan Paul throughout the months, trying to get an answer as to when these payments will be made, and he's just heard nothing back.
Quote, "Hey Logan, following up on the zoo refunds, when should people expect those? It's been about a month." And then a month later, following up again. People are wondering what's going on. Almost been 2 months. Very frustrating for victims to get promises and then see nothing and get zero communication. And then later, hey Logan, following up for a third time, it's been over 5 months since you promised to refund the victims of CryptoZoo over $3 million.
I mean, clearly Coffeezilla's given Logan Paul every chance to try and fix this before he does speak out publicly. Or maybe Logan Paul just doesn't care about Coffeezilla speaking out publicly, but clearly he does. This whole situation started with Coffeezilla. There's no doubt in my mind that Logan Paul definitely fears a Coffeezilla video at this point. But he still didn't respond. As we can see here, he messaged multiple times up to 5 months after the situation actually happened, and he didn't respond. Clearly he's just trying to sweep it under the rug. Which is crazy because, as Coffeezilla says in this video, Logan Paul was really pissed off when the initial situation happened because Coffeezilla was reaching out to Jeff, Logan Paul's manager, instead of Logan Paul publicly, but now he's reaching out to him personally. He's not responding.
Maybe we could have talked about this if you had reached out to me, personally. Not my manager, Jeff, who is not me, Steven.
So yeah, to me, this is just concrete proof that even if Coffeezilla did reach out to Logan Paul personally, back when this situation was first happening, Logan wasn't going to respond. He thought nothing bad could happen to him for this situation. He just wanted to forget about it and ignore it, and clearly he can't really do that. And yet again, Logan Paul has went back to his old ways, because he's now sent out a defense attorney to reach out to Steven to kind of like, basically get him to shut up, and just said, look, we're working on it. Kind of.
So I opened up the letter and it read, "We represent Logan Paul. Mr. Paul has informed us of your outreach about the status of the CryptoZoo buybacks. Mr. Paul remains committed to this process. We are working with Mr. Paul to evaluate the best way to achieve this goal. In the meantime, please direct to our attention any further inquiries to Mr. Paul. Thank you for your patience and understanding."
Yeah, so now it's not reach out to Logan Paul personally, it's just reach out to his team. He really can't make his mind up, can he? And obviously when you do look at this email, it doesn't really sound promising. He actually really said a whole lot of nothing. It's just your classic statement being like,
"We're working on it, guys. You just have to believe us."
Even though Logan Paul already came out with what his plan was going to be, he said he was going to refund people up to $1.8 million for people who didn't want to wait for the game to be finished. He even described how he was going to do this through the blockchain at the time. So he has the plan. He's had the plan for like 6 months now. And yet again, if he was in his CryptoZoo Discord telling people, look, I'm working on it, here's the update, so on, that would be fine. Like, people will be patient in that sense when they don't really have to be. But at least then people can see that you're working on something. I can imagine doing this whole refund plan on crypto, probably quite complicated, right? You have to get people in that know what they're doing, that specialize in this type of stuff to kind of make the plan work, right? But where's the updates? In fact, he's just ignored people over and over again on his own Discord that he said he was going to be communicating in more. And whilst this is all happening, Logan Paul's living his best life. He's in WWE, right? I believe as I'm recording this video, he's in like a pay-per-view for WWE tonight. He's also on some like tour with Prime where it's now going like global. I believe they just sponsored Barcelona out of all teams, like literally one of the biggest teams that's ever existed. He's doing all this crazy stuff, which I have absolutely no doubt brings him a lot of money, but for some reason he can't refund the people that he scammed, which makes no sense to me. And as I was actually watching Coffeezilla's video, I was thinking to myself, right, so Logan Paul's involved in these lawsuits. He's definitely going to use that as an excuse, right? He's going to be like, look, I'm in lawsuits. I can't speak, okay? I'm not legally allowed to speak. But Coffeezilla brings up a very good point to debunk that.
I had to rely on my team. I crumbled internally, and the advice was, while actual legal process was going on because of criminal investigation taking place that Coffeezilla highlighted in his series, I had to stay silent. And for a year, I'm hounding Jeff. How do we make this right?
All right, let's get this straight. Logan was dying to make CryptoZoo right the first time, but was legally required to be silent until a YouTuber talked about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good point, right? Because how easy is it to say, like, look, we're in legal troubles right now, we can't speak about it, because you can't really say anything to that, right? But Logan Paul's already tried that. He's tried that excuse. He said it before that he couldn't speak about it, but as soon as Coffeezilla made his video, all of a sudden he could. It doesn't make any sense. It is just a really easy excuse to give that we've seen a lot of people give in the past, that they're in legal trouble and they can't speak about it. But clearly Logan can speak about it. He has on multiple occasions now. But if I'm honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Logan Paul does try and stay as quiet as possible this time, because no matter what Coffeezilla does at this point, the situation isn't going to blow up to the same level it did like initially. Because the reason why it blew up so much at first is because Coffeezilla released this 3-part series that was on like a Netflix level of research, and it was unraveling this whole story, right? It was really interesting to watch, and so many millions of people wanted to watch it. But at this point, all Coffeezilla's really saying is that the money hasn't been paid, which won't be as interesting to a lot of people. Of course, the people who care about the situation, they will. The broader audience won't care as much, and I think Logan Paul will be able to just stay silent without facing as much backlash as last time. Maybe I'm wrong, I hope I am, like hopefully he will respond, of course, but I just don't have much faith at all. I just hope that the people who did get scammed do get their money back, but I don't know at this point. I mean, Logan Paul has all the money in the world, right? He can hire as many people as he wants to solve this issue for him, where he doesn't really have to do anything. All he has to do is hire people who know what they're doing and tell them what the situation is, and they do the rest. He can go on with his like Prime tour and do the WWE stuff. He doesn't have to worry about this. All he would have to do is put money into it, you know, the same way that a bunch of people had to put money into it that they got scammed for. He would have to put some of his money into it, which of course is a lot of money, but what Logan Paul we're talking about here, okay, he's mega rich, he doesn't really need an extra $2 million. And then after putting the money into it, he can sit back and relax. But for some reason, he doesn't want to do that. But yeah, I would love to know your opinion on this whole situation in the comment section down below. Do you feel like this will ever be solved? Do you reckon Logan Paul's just going to try and ignore it for as long as he can? I feel like eventually he's going to have to do it, right? Because how much patience can people have? But it definitely seems like he's in no rush. So I would love to know your opinions in the comment section down below on the whole situation. But yeah, either way, I'm going to leave the video there. So if you did enjoy, please leave a like down below. Subscribe if you are new. And until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.